Hey everyone, I'm Nick DiMatteo and welcome to week 186 and video episode number dozen of 4T, the Thursday throwback track. This week, we're going to talk about Mr. James Todd Smith. I hear the ladies love Cool James, which of course stands for LL Cool J, the television star, an erstwhile rap pioneer. And we're going to talk a little bit about songs you don't hear all the time and what the difference is. So, I need a beat. I can't live without my radio. Going back to Cali. Big Ole Butt, Jingling Baby, Rock the Bells, Around the Way Girl, Mama Said Knock You Out. Anybody who knows classic hip-hop, second and third wave is what I'm calling this span here. First wave being like 70s and the early 80s, and then the second wave is when Run DMC and Beastie Boys and then LL Cool J came in and all of that. Third wave is like gangster rap, early 90s. Anybody who knows those songs, or anybody who knows early classic hip hop, knows those songs, and every single one of those songs is an LL Cool J song. His greatest hits albums, he's got two of them, All the World and All the World 2, I believe they're called, are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. Two of them put together, especially because they, there's some redundancies, but they cover everything of his amazing 10-year span of incredibleness. And this is not on it. This is a song from this 12-inch single from Def Jam Recordings, which all of them looked like this back then. Here's the other side. You can tell what artist it is because I'm telling you with my words. Otherwise, you would have no idea. Yes, this is a 12-inch featuring the songs I Want You and Dangerous. They were album cuts off of his first album, but they were also minor club hits or songs that DJs and everybody used and played. So as always with the 12-inch, they have the actual versions of these songs and then they have the instrumental versions of the songs, both for people who wanted to rap it themselves, but mostly for DJs who wanted to mix in the instrumental portions with other stuff and extended mixes and stuff like that. But the point is, these are two songs that you aren't on the greatest hits album because you haven't heard them much. In fact, I didn't even really remember much about them until I re-listened to them. But what happens when you re-listen to a song you haven't heard in a long time is that it thrusts you immediately back into that period. There are songs that are from that same period that you hear about a million times, dozens, hundreds, thousands of times, and from any period. And once it gets to a point like that, it kind of becomes untethered from its original era. There may be parts of it that still remind you of when it came from, especially if it's a song that's special to you. But really, a song like, I don't know, The Final Countdown, or I Melt With You, or Smells Like Teen Spirit, or a host of Led Zeppelin songs or Beatles songs, hits that are played over and over that you hear in restaurants, you hear on playlists, etc., 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 no longer really evoke that era. I mean, sonically, yeah, of course, but as far as the emotion and nostalgia and the way you feel about a certain thing, all of that's kind of washed away with songs like, I don't feel 1983 when I hear I Melt With You. I feel like, hey, it's a great song, and that's pretty much it, But songs like this, the minute I put this on, and especially you hear that little ding dong ding thing in there, I mean, this kind of production is really, it's like Rick Rubin at his finest. As far as I'm concerned, all the amazing things that Rick Rubin has worked on since then, he's never done better than this. Actually, it is a secret because I've never told anybody publicly. I'm not a giant fan of Rick Rubin's later work. It's great. The people he works with are great, and he's got that whole guru shit going on. But I think that he's taken minimalism so far that a lot of what he does is just simply not that interesting. And this, however, is where he started. So he was exploring that idea of keeping it simple. You know, he did that with Run DMC, he did that with the Beastie Boys, he did that with a host of other artists, and he did that with LL Cool J. So again, you know, listening to a song like this, I can picture the Kangos, I can see the clothing, I can see the big shoelaces in the sneakers, you know, I can all the popping and locking and breakdancing and things like that come like flooding back, as does high school, as does the friends of mine around the block who would listen to this stuff and, you know, be able to dance like that. And, you know, the lyrics and the way he delivers them, because I haven't heard this in a while, it reminds me of how potent they were, how no one else in music was speaking like LL Cool J, like Run DMC, like the people from that era, and it was an absolute shock to the system and a blast in a way that, you know, woke up other parts of me, and I'm sure millions of other people. And that's really the, you know, point I'm making about not having heard a song a million times. It's much easier for it to thrust you back into a certain mindset, a certain era, a certain period, certain emotion, the emotional content especially. But the great thing about great music, period, is that whether you listen to a song once or 20 times or 100 times, it's always good. And in fact, my argument about good music and great music, which the distinction there I make is that all good music is good. I know that sounds weird, but the point being that to me, great music is decided by the listener. Anyone who's good at creating music is creating good music. A song becomes great because of how it is received by the listener. A song becomes classic because of how it's received by the listener. But, you know, those songs get better the more you listen to them. There are things in the way they're produced or in the lyrical content that don't come out in the first 2, 3, 5, 10 listens. And you know, how can they? And even though today it's kind of, you know, playlist mentality and listen to a song for 10 seconds and move on, I know there are people out there who find songs and sometimes even albums that they love and listen to them over and over and over. My son does it. He listens to Pentatonics 500 million times. And I think that's vital. It's valuable. It's the way certain people watch an episode of a TV show 10 times and can recite, you know, all the dialogue. Or people who read a good book over and over because of how much they love it, or play even, or even seeing plays more than once. You get more and more out of it. It's how I absorb music. You know, if I listen to an artist, I love the artist, I get their new release, and I'm like, I don't know. I'll listen to it 2, 3, 4 times. More mature artists, they tend to unweave their songs in a way that might take a little more time to absorb. But honestly, I think that's true for, again, any artist that's creating good music. It's how I like to create music. I like to, you know, write songs that stand the test of time, but I also like to produce in a way that gives the listener more to hear every time they listen to the song. You know, I know some of you have heard my songs, and thank you very much for that. If you have, and if there was a song you like, experiment. Listen to it again. Listen to it 4 times even. Listen to it in the same day. Listen to it 4 times in a week or 4 times in a month. See if you hear something different. See if you catch something different in a different way. And if you haven't heard any of my songs, then even once would be a wonderful thing. But you'll understand what I'm saying, whether you're listening to, you know, my songs, whether you're listening to LL Cool J or any artist that you love. And so, speaking of the melding of the two, a song of mine that was clearly influenced by LL Cool J in that period is a song called The Power of Repetition Everlasting. It does not have the sparse production. In parts of it, it does, but not really. That's generally not how I produce, every now and then, possibly. But it does have that kind of delivery and, you know, lyrical kind of combination of sensitivity and aggression, the way LL Cool J did his thing. And the beats, of course. And so, you know, there you go. I'm starting to flag here because I've had a very long day at work. So I don't need to tell you my favorites because there's only 2 songs on this lovely 12-inch, and that's why the music is over, people. So now it's up to you to click the link, to learn more about LL Cool J, about this 12-inch, about his first album, to listen to the music, to click the link to my song, to listen to it, to share it, to dive deeper, to read the text, which has something to do with what I just said, and to share, because as always, my objective for all of these in sharing music is conversation and connection. Thank you again for watching, for listening, for reading, for sharing, and I will see you next week.